Alright, today I comment on how liberals just don't get it. They don't understand conservatives, and they have this weird twisted idea of what conservatism is. Now granted, there's always subjective judgment calls of what one thing is or another thing is. Again, it's human mind categorizing things. But having said that, your typical liberal really doesn't have a clue. Now, in a recent ACLU video, the individual was trying to argue how the ACLU wasn't a liberal Democrat talking piece because it was supporting the neo-Nazis' right to protest, and it was supporting this anti-gay group who was protesting military funerals' right to protest. And somehow, by doing this, they were reaching out and representing the right of society, the conservative or the traditionalist side of society. I mean, come on. Seriously, is that how they see us? Is that what they really think? Are they so bigoted and narrow-minded that that's what they think of us? You know, there's fringe groups on both sides. Should we look at the left and the ACLU and says, well, you're no better, you're just like the communists who butchered people in Russia, you know? And that's why when you reach out and support communist butchering and etc. and support their right to be communists and have communist parties come out and protest things, that we're supporting liberalism. Now granted, there are extremes on all things. Nazis actually were a socialist party, which means they actually fall on the liberal perspective side, not on the conservative perspective side. But that's beside the point. The fact that they just don't get what a conservative is really amazing. Now let me break down what I see a conservative is for those liberals who actually have an open mind, who are willing to consider what a true conservative is, as opposed to some fringe group that they deem to be on the right because it opposes far liberal goals. The average conservative wants government to stay out of their personal business. The average conservatives want the community to do the outreach and the people to create programs that help the needy and not the government. The average conservative really doesn't care whether you have a freaky sexual practice, as long as the government doesn't push it on their kids in schools. In other words, if you want to be a homosexual, then fine, be a homosexual. But we don't want to see your faces plastered all over billboards or in our school textbooks or in anything else. You're welcome to do it. Just stay out of our way. You know? Likewise is about leaving us alone, ultimately. Likewise, affirmative action, where government comes in and tells you how many people have to be in how many positions and what kind of colors of the skin they have to have, and etc. We want government to stay out of it. Let the natural process take place. As more well-educated people come up from different communities, it will change the mix. It happens naturally. There's no need for government to get involved to change things. Government forcing social change on people. This is the nature of conservatism. We want government out of business, we want government out of our lives, and we want government out of forcing ideology on people. Now, are there Christian groups that want to push Christianity on the rest of the country? Sure, there are, but they're not the vast majority of the conservative side. Just like there are communist groups on the left that would like to make everyone in communes and tell people how many children they can have, how many square feet their homes can be, where they can live, where they can't live, what they can or cannot drive, what fuels they can use, and etc. But given the choice between the two elements, the group that seems to have the most influence of these extremists is the left. You see it in the writing in school books, you see it in the listing of college professors. When's the last time you saw a college professor who was a representative of this far-right, must make everyone Christian group? You know? Seriously. When was the last time you see that? But how many communist professors are there? Innumerable ones. You know, they're almost in every college campus you're going to find in the course of your term going to college. At least one or two of your professors will be pure socialist communists. It's almost a guarantee. So, and then you got the universal health care being pushed by the Democrats. That's another communist ideal. You have all these socialist and communist deals being pushed through. Hate speech, communism, controlling what people say and what they cannot think, punishing people for thoughts. Anyways, the fact that the ACLU thinks that a conservative Christian is a guy who's going to protest a funeral of a soldier and make their families feel terrible during that time to protest homosexuality is a sure sign of exactly how fringe and left-leaning the ACLU is today. When's the last time you ever seen the ACLU sue a black church for having Democrats meet there and have a talk there in front of the congregation, like behind the pulpit? When's the last time the separation of church and state movement came in there and said, "Oh gosh, those black churches, look at their tax status. We gotta attack their tax status because they're supporting politicians"? Do you ever see that happen? No. When's the last time you've ever seen that separation of church state movement attack non-Christian groups? You have Islam being taught in schools in California. Not a word from them. You see, have Jewish symbols on public land. Not a word from them. You see, my kids taught Judaism in school, in kindergarten, in Maryland schools, and not a word from them. The ACLU does not. There's a reason why they're called the Liberal Talking Point and the Anti-Christian Organization, Anti-Christian Legal Fund. Anyways, I forget the anachronism. Anyways, the point is, they have earned the title and reputation they have, and their efforts to deny it, and their outreach by supporting fringe right groups is not going to cure that title. Thank you very much, and have a good day. And God bless.